She'll believe anything. What an idiot. I found out on my birthday that my parents used my money to fund my golden sister's boutique. So I killed the cash flow, lawyered up, and watched the whole thing burn. Happy birthday to me, I guess. Ever get tricked into funding your sister's dream business because your parents called it a family emergency fund? Yeah, that happened. I thought I was helping out. Turns out I was the secret investor for Lex Essence, a boutique so cringy it sounds like a perfume for toddlers. When I found out, I didn't scream. I filed. And what followed? Oh, they never saw it coming. I, Tiffany, 38 female, am the oldest kid in my family. My sister Lexi, 32 female, is the youngest and somehow still manages to act like she's royalty. Growing up, it was always pretty clear who the favorite was. She got the praise, the attention, the better Christmas gifts. Hell, they even threw her a "you got engaged" party like she won the Super Bowl. She's married now with 2 kids, and apparently that gives her VIP status in the family. Me? I'm single, no kids, just working and minding my business, aka not good enough. My parents called me reliable. That was just code for "we'll keep using you until you break." And anyway, so I turned 38 this year. Not a big milestone or anything, but still old enough to not need a birthday party, yet young enough to expect maybe, I don't know, a happy birthday from the people who literally created me. Just a text, maybe a quick dinner. Low bar, right? Anyway, my parents told me they were sick. Not like flu sick. No, they made it sound like hospital level stuff. My mom was on the phone coughing like she was in some Victorian novel. "Oh, honey, we'd love to come, but we don't want to get you sick. You know your father's immune system isn't what it used to be." Real dramatic. I bought it. Hook, line, sinker, whole fishing pole. I didn't even question it. That's the part that pisses me off now. The fact that I trusted them so much that I didn't think twice. That's how deep the conditioning goes when your parents repeat, "Family always sticks together," like it's scripture. Never mind the years of being treated like the backup sibling. But hey, family, right? So I ended up doing dinner with my uncle, a cousin, and a couple friends who still remember I exist. Nothing wild, just some food, laughs, and one too many awkward, "where's your family tonight?" comments. I just shrugged. They're sick. I even defended them. That part makes me want to kick myself. Then my uncle, good old chatty Uncle Paul, has a couple bites of steak and lets something slip. Just a tiny sentence. Probably didn't even realize he said it until he saw my face freeze mid-chew. "Yeah, Lexi said the beach was perfect this time of year." I blinked. Beach. And that's when everything started cracking like cheap drywall. He paused, tried to backpedal with a very smooth, I meant, she saw it on TV or some nonsense like that." Dude couldn't lie to save his life. My cousin just looked at his plate like it was suddenly super interesting. So I asked again, "Lexi's at the beach?" He gave me this weird half smile and mumbled, "Yeah, with your parents. I thought you knew." That's when my cousin, bless her lack of filter, chimed in with a laugh like it was no big deal. Aunt Mara literally said, "She'll believe anything. What an idiot." She even did the voice. You know, that smug, high-pitched fake concern mom tone. "Just tell her we're sick. She's too soft to ask questions." Then she shrugged and went back to her fries like she didn't just casually nuke my entire childhood belief system. I sat there, smile frozen, while everything hit me at once like a slow car crash. They weren't sick. They didn't miss my birthday because they were too weak to stand. They were on vacation with Lexi laughing it up somewhere warm while I sat here defending their fake illness like a dumbass. And the cherry on top, that trip wasn't last minute. Oh no, it had been planned for months. Months! That means they looked at the calendar, saw my birthday coming up, and still chose to book a trip and not tell me. I was never even on the maybe list. And you know what really put the final nail in it? Later that night after the dinner, I called my mom again. I wanted to hear her voice. I wanted to see if she'd double down on the lie. And guess what? She did. Coughed again. Oscar-worthy performance. "Oh, sweetheart, we feel awful. We hate missing your special day. It's just bad luck." Bad luck. Yeah. Okay. Must have been tough boarding a plane while battling the plague. At that point, I didn't even know what to feel. I wasn't sad. I was hollow, like all the things I kept shoving down. Every ignored birthday. Every time they fawned over Lex's kids while forgetting I existed. Every stupid time I bailed them out financially without question. It all floated up and sat in my chest like a cinder block. I sat on my couch that night staring at my phone, reading the happy birthday they finally sent at like 10 p.m. It was one of those glittery, stupid gifts with a rose. No call, no video chat. I almost laughed. Actually, I did laugh because it was finally clear. They didn't forget me. They chose not to include me. And that was the moment the switch flipped. You know the one? The, okay, we're done here switch. That's when I stopped being the idiot daughter who always picked up the slack and started being something else. I just didn't know how deep the rabbit hole went yet. But oh man, it was deeper than I ever expected. The next morning, I woke up feeling different. Not sad, not even mad, really. I opened my laptop and pulled up my bank account. I didn't know what I was looking for at first. Maybe I just needed a distraction, or maybe some part of me already knew something didn't add up. So here's the thing. A few years ago, my parents sat me down and gave me this whole speech about preparing for emergencies. Said they were worried about health issues, rising costs, unexpected disasters, blah, blah, blah. They asked me to help contribute to a family emergency savings account. Like nothing sketchy, just a separate account. They said they'd only touch it if something serious came up. At the time, I thought it made sense. My parents aren't great with money, and I figured if something did happen, I wouldn't want them out on the street. So for the past 5 years, I'd been sending a chunk of money every month. Not a lot at first, but it grew. You know how it goes. Just for a little while, turns into a regular thing. I never really tracked it closely because I trusted them, and that right there is where I deserve a slap. As I clicked through the statements, something started to bug me. The transfers were labeled as FESF, Family Emergency Savings Fund, except it didn't really act like a savings account. It was getting emptied fast. I looked at the withdrawal dates and saw they were regular and the amounts weren't small. Some months they pulled out everything I put in within a few days. So I emailed the bank to get a breakdown. Just wanted to see where the money was going. While waiting, I started thinking about Lexi, about how she suddenly went from we're struggling to afford daycare to we're thinking of opening our own business. I didn't think much of it back then. I figured maybe her husband got a bonus or they got a loan. But now things were starting to smell funny. Couple days later, the bank emailed me back. They couldn't give me super detailed info since I wasn't listed as the primary account holder, but they did confirm that the funds were being regularly transferred into another business account, a new one, opened under my mom's name, which was weird because my mom doesn't run a business. She can barely run a Facebook page without calling me. I sent another message asking for any public info on that business account. Meanwhile, I did some digging on my own. I pulled up local business registrations and started typing in last names. After about 20 minutes, there it was, Lexi's name and mine. Mine listed under the initial funders section. For a boutique-style business with a cutesy name I won't even say here because it physically hurts my brain, I stared at the screen for a good minute without blinking. There it was, plain as day. They used the emergency fund to bankroll Lexi's dream project. And not just that, they put my name on it, like I was in on it. I wasn't listed as an owner. No share, no control, no voting rights, just a name, like a walking checkbook with zero opinion. And no, I never signed squat. They used my name to make it look cleaner for approval. That's it. Like I had supported this from the start. Like I wanted to help her open a stupid overpriced candle and crystal store or whatever the hell it was. Suddenly, every comment from my parents over the last year made sense. The guilt-trippy, "You're such a good daughter." The times they deflected when I asked how the fund was doing. The way they got weirdly quiet when I brought up long-term plans. It was all there. The clues, I just didn't put them together. But what really burned me wasn't even the money. It was the fact that Lexi knew. She had to. There's no way she didn't know where the startup money came from. And she let me sit there like an idiot on my birthday while they called me an idiot and toasted her latest achievement in secret. I closed the laptop, sat back, and just stared at the wall. I didn't even feel like yelling. It was like realizing a scab you've been picking for years was actually infected the whole time. I didn't feel rage. I felt clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. They played me. They saw me as the safe bet. Not anymore. I didn't call them. I didn't send a message. I just made a plan quietly. Because if they thought I was going to just keep handing them free money while they gaslit me and took credit for helping Lexi build her dream, then I couldn't wait to see their faces when that gravy train hit the brakes. And trust me, it was about to hit hard. 3 days after digging through my account and finding my name attached to Lexi's little passion project, I took a drive across town. My head was full of questions, and none of them were getting answered from behind a screen. That's when I saw it. Tucked between a fancy wine shop and one of those organic pet bakeries, because apparently that's a thing now, was a spotless storefront, Lex Essence. Yeah, that's the real name, Lex Essence. Like she's marketing bottled personality or something. I stared at the sign thinking, did she name this after a body spray from 2006, or was this a dare? I swear I almost crashed the car. Inside, I could see candles lined up like they were about to be blessed, and a big counter area with a neon sign that said, Manifest More. Manifest more, lady. I manifested debt for you. Apparently, it had been up and running for a couple months already. Lexi launched it soft online. Instagram Reels. Meanwhile, I was funding it thinking I was paying for future hospital bills or some leaking roof. I wasn't going to go in at first. I thought maybe I'd let it simmer, hit her later. But then I saw her, Lexi in the flesh, standing behind the counter wearing some stupid branded apron that said CEO vibes, talking to a group of customers like she was royalty, laughing, glowing, acting like she built this whole place with her own 2 hands and a Pinterest board. I got out of the car. I walked straight through the door like I was there to buy something. Her eyes met mine, and for half a second her face twitched. Then she smiled. Tiffany, she said, like she was surprised I remembered how doors worked. Oh, hey, I said, walking toward the counter. Just checking out the place I accidentally helped build. She blinked. What? Nice setup, I said, glancing around. Very clean, minimalist, soothing. Hard to believe all this came from family emergencies. That's when a few of the other people in the shop got quiet. Her employees looked up from the register. You could feel the vibe shift. Lexi dropped the fake smile. I don't know what you're talking about, she said. Oh, come on, I said louder this time. You don't know where the funding came from? That's weird because my name's on the business filings. Kind of strange to forget the woman whose bank account helped pay for your wellness brand. Tiffany, she hissed. Can we not do this here? Why not? I said. This place wouldn't exist without me. Seems fair. I get the tour. She walked around the counter toward me, jaw tight. Okay, look, that fund was for the family. I didn't ask for anything. Mom and Dad offered because they believe in me, right? Because that's how belief works, I shot back. You steal from one kid to invest in the other and call it love. You're being dramatic and you're being fake. You didn't even tell me this place existed, but sure, let's pretend we're all on the same page. One of the women near the candle table backed away slowly. An employee awkwardly started rearranging a shelf that didn't need rearranging. The tension was so thick, even the scented air couldn't cover it. Lexi folded her arms. Don't be an idiot, you're just jealous. I actually laughed. Of what? The store? The neon sign? The fact that you conned our parents and played dumb like you didn't know where the money came from? I didn't con anyone, she snapped. They chose to support me. No, they chose to lie to me, and you were fine with that. You let me keep sending money every month thinking I was helping with emergencies, not funding your luxury soap empire. She scoffed. Why do you even care? You're single. No kids, no one depending on you. You make good money. What's the big deal? Wow, there it was. The golden child mindset in full HD. Oh, I see. So, since I don't have a family of my own, I'm the designated ATM. Good to know. I'll make sure to laminate my debit card before you burn it again. Lexi's face went red. You're overreacting. No, Lexi, I'm just here giving you the decency of a heads up before I cut everyone off. Wait, she said, suddenly less smug. What do you mean cut off? I mean no more money, no more transfers, no more pretending this family has my back. I'm done. And if Mom and Dad try to use my info again, I will press charges. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm serious enough to drive across town and watch you pretend this is all your idea. She stepped closer like she was going to whisper something private. I didn't move. She said, You're going to make them homeless over this? You mean the people who lied to me, used me, and called me an idiot behind my back? Yeah, I'll sleep just fine. At that point, I turned to walk out. Someone behind the counter muttered, Damn, under their breath. I got back in my car, sat there for a second, and just stared through the windshield. My hands were shaking. Not from nerves, but from finally doing what I should have done a long time ago, saying no, not explaining myself, not folding under guilt. She showed me exactly who she was, and I believed her. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about respect, and they had none for me. But they were about to learn what life looked like without their favorite fool keeping the lights on. I logged into my bank account that night like I was defusing a bomb, clicked through every old scheduled payment, found the one labeled FESF, and hit cancel. Not pause, not delay, cancel. Then I removed my bank info from the profile altogether, like pulling a USB stick out mid-transfer. Not ideal, but very satisfying. I stared at the confirmation screen for a bit longer than I needed to. Not because I was second-guessing anything, but because I wanted to feel it. That small, quiet satisfaction of finally doing something for myself instead of playing the family clown. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. I knew the storm was coming. It was just a matter of when. 1 week later, the peace died, a loud, miserable death. 27 missed calls, 14 texts, 3 voicemails from Mom, 2 from Dad, 1 from Lexi, in all caps. I didn't answer any of it, didn't even open the messages. I knew what they were going to say. Is everything okay? There must be a mistake. We're worried about you. Yeah, I bet. Then came the knock. It was 6:15 p.m. I peeked out the window, and yep, there they were, my parents. I opened the door halfway, leaned against the frame. Evening, Tiffany, my mom said, using the soft voice she saves for special occasions, like when she wants something or thinks someone's about to die. We need to talk. Do we? Dad cleared his throat. Daughter, we noticed something unusual this month. The transfer didn't go through. I raised an eyebrow. Weird. Almost like someone canceled it. Mom fake laughed. Right. So it was a mistake then? Nope, I said, popping the pea. I did that on purpose. You'd think I just announced I burned down a church. Mom's smile vanished like it owed her money. Dad squinted like I just spoke in Morse code. Wait, Mom said, stepping closer. You canceled it? Yep, been thinking a lot lately. Turns out I don't like being lied to and used. She blinked hard. Is this about your birthday? There it was. I knew she'd bring it up eventually, but I didn't expect her to toss it out like it was nothing. No, I said. This is about every birthday and every lie and every dollar that didn't go where you said it was going. It's about that boutique you helped Lexi open with my money. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again like a puffer fish. Honestly, she looked stupidly funny. No words came out. For a split second, she looked actually surprised, like I wasn't supposed to find out, like I wasn't smart enough. Dad stepped forward, arms crossed now. So what? You're punishing us? Punishing? That's rich. I gave for years without asking for anything, and you used it to play fairy godmother for Lex's dream spa, or whatever that nightmare store is. I don't even get a thank you card. Mom's tone shifted fast. She went from fake sweet to full Karen in 0.5 seconds. We took care of you growing up. We fed you. We clothed you. I tilted my head. Didn't realize that came with a 20-year repayment plan. Dad huffed. Watch your tone. Or what? I asked straight-faced. You'll make me pay for Lex's kids' college next? They were both quiet for a moment. I watched the gears turning. The guilt angle wasn't working. So now came the real them. The ones I grew up with. The ones who only ever smiled when Lexi did something mildly impressive, like use a toaster. Mom's arms folded. This is extremely selfish, Tiffany. There it is. You have no family of your own, she said like it was a character flaw. You don't need the money. I actually laughed. Oh, sorry. I forgot. Since I'm single and childless, I'm just a spare wallet with legs. Dad shook his head. We thought you understood. We thought you believed in helping family. You mean like you believed in helping Lexi while lying to me? I snapped back. That kind of family? Before they could say another word, a car pulled up, glossy black, brand new. And of course, it was her. Lexi stepped out, stomping up the walkway like she was ready to sue someone. What is going on? She yelled. Mom said you canceled everything. Are you trying to ruin me? I smiled. Hi, Lexi. Nice car. Did the essential oils cover that too? She ignored it. You're really just going to let the store fall apart because your feelings got hurt? I'm going to let the store fall apart, I repeated. Right, because your business plan depends on stolen family money and magical thinking. Lexi crossed her arms. I didn't steal anything. You benefited from it. You knew. You could have said something. Instead, you ran with it and called yourself a boss. Mom jumped in. Tiffany, stop. Don't do this in front of the neighbors. Why not? I said. They should know too. You raised a daughter who thinks fraud is entrepreneurship. Lex's eyes narrowed. You've always hated me. No, Lexi, I just stopped letting you in. Silence. You could hear a pin drop between her fake designer shoes and my dad's cracked sandals. Then I stepped back inside and looked them all over one last time. If any of you try to touch my accounts again, I said calmly, I'll file a report and I will press charges. You wouldn't dare, Mom whispered, eyes wide. Try me. Then I shut the door in their faces. Didn't slam it, didn't yell, just shut it. They wanted me to be the fool forever, but that version of me, she retired permanently. I figured the worst was over. I'd canceled the payments, shut the door in their faces, blocked the guilt trips, and kept my distance. That should have been enough. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd get the message. They didn't. 4 days after that final door slam, I got a call from my bank. Unknown number, but I answered anyway. Something about it just felt off. Glad I did. Hi, Ms. Tiffany, the woman started. We're calling to verify a change to your automatic transfer settings. There was an attempt to restart a previously canceled recurring payment, FESF, using your old banking profile. My stomach dropped. You're saying someone tried to restart that transfer without my approval? Yes, our system flagged it as suspicious activity because the source account had been removed weeks ago. We've blocked the transaction for now and placed a temporary freeze on that link. Good, that wasn't me, I said flatly. She paused. Would you like to initiate a formal fraud report? I can begin that process immediately. I didn't hesitate. Yes, start it. Document every detail. I want a report logged and attached to my file. She began reading back a summary while typing. I listened, jaw clenched. I wasn't surprised, just pissed. They didn't try to call. They didn't ask. They just went in the back door and tried to sneak the money out like nothing happened. When she finished, I said, I also want to speak to your fraud protection team about locking down my profile. I spent the next hour with a security rep combing through my online access. We deauthorized every device, wiped the auto login data, and enabled extra ID verification steps. I changed every password, removed every backup email, and even updated my recovery questions. No more soft spots, no more loopholes. But I wasn't done. After I hung up, I called a lawyer, a friend of a friend who specialized in family estate disputes and financial overreach. I told him everything from the fake emergency fund to the business discovery down to this new little stunt with my old account info. I also mentioned the filings, the ones with my name on them. I never signed a thing, never approved anything, didn't even get a heads up. But there it was, Tiffany Carter, contributor, like I just volunteered my bank account for soap startup charity. He didn't even flinch, said it happens more often than people admit. Family thinking shared blood means shared assets. He wasn't shocked. Apparently this kind of thing happens more often than you'd think. We met that afternoon. He asked for the bank screenshots, the account numbers, the paper trail, and any communication I had saved. I gave him everything. Within 24 hours, he had a cease and desist letter drafted, reviewed, and sent directly to my parents. Certified mail, tracked, no wiggle room. The letter spelled it all out in clear legal terms. Clean, cold, final. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt steady, like I'd finally stepped out of some weird fog and could see things clearly for the first time in years. The day after the letter got delivered, my phone buzzed with an email notification from my lawyer, and attached was voicemail from my parents. We're her parents. She always gave us everything. Now she's treating us like criminals. After all, we sacrificed. That was the gist of their voicemail. Guilt with a side of delusion. No apology, no acceptance. That was their mindset in a nutshell. We had you, so now we own you. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. They weren't sorry. They were just mad the free ride ended. They weren't grieving a lost relationship. They were mad they got caught with their hand in the drawer. They didn't call me directly again, at least not that day. But the next morning, I got a message from a random number. Short, vague. We just want to talk. Please don't do anything you'll regret. I blocked it immediately. Didn't even open the message preview fully. I already knew it was them or Lexi, maybe both. Didn't matter. Later that evening, I sent one last email to my lawyer. If they contact me again in any way, escalate. I want to be done. He replied with one word. Understood. No theatrics, no final battle. Just a documented wall. built between us, legally sound, fully enforceable. I'd gone from family scapegoat to untouchable, and all it took was finally seeing the truth for what it was. They weren't confused. They weren't misguided. They made a choice over and over, and I was the idiot holding the bag like it was charity. They assumed I'd never fight back. But I did. And now they get to sit with the result. They gambled on me staying the quiet one, the helper, the one who never pushed back. But they lost. And this time there's no do-over. For a few days, everything was quiet. I even started thinking maybe, just maybe, they'd finally gotten it through their heads. That maybe the letter slapped some reality into them. Spoiler, it didn't. On day 4, I got a message from my cousin Mark. We don't talk much, but he's not a drama magnet. His text just said, "Hey, are you okay? Your mom called my dad. She's saying you scared her and might be unstable. I just wanted to check in." I stared at the screen for a solid minute. Scared her? Unstable? The same woman who faked a cough to dodge my birthday dinner was now pretending I was dangerous. I replied with, "I'm fine. I filed a fraud report. They didn't like it. Now they're trying to rewrite history. Don't buy into it." Apparently, my parents had gone full PR crisis mode. They weren't just complaining. They were spinning it hard. I could imagine it now. My mom on the phone, voice trembling, telling people I stormed into their home and threatened to ruin them. Probably cried a little. Maybe threw in some, "We're just old and trying our best," for dramatic effect. I didn't comment. Didn't even screenshot it. I just sent the link to my lawyer and added a note. Smear campaign beginning. Logging everything. I knew what they were doing. They couldn't control me with guilt. They couldn't steal from me anymore. So now they were trying to destroy how other people saw me. If they couldn't keep the free ride, they were going to torch my reputation on the way out. But here's the thing. They weren't smart about it. Because that evening, my lawyer called me and said, "You're not going to believe this, but your parents left another voicemail on our office line again. We recorded it." I didn't even ask for the transcript this time. I just said, "Forward it." And wow, they weren't even trying to be subtle anymore. "We don't feel safe. She has access to our information. What if she does something irrational? She's been acting angry and unpredictable. We're worried she might escalate." Escalate? Lady, I sent a letter. A boring, emotionless, lawyer-drafted, certified mail letter. If that's unpredictable, they're in for a shock when they meet real consequences. Still, I kept cool. I replied to my lawyer with 2 words, "File everything." And I meant it. Every voicemail, every post, every dramatic message getting passed around like it's a group chat game of telephone. I didn't care who believed them. I just wanted it all saved. I wasn't playing defense anymore. I was building a record. Lexi pulled into the driveway like nothing had happened. Glossy car, designer sunglasses, and that usual look like she was walking into a room where everyone was already clapping. She got out like she owned the place. She didn't ask permission, didn't knock, just walked up with that fake concerned face people put on when they want to look reasonable while stirring the pot. She said they were worried, that Mom and Dad were devastated, and didn't understand why I was being so extreme. Apparently, I was overreacting. Apparently, I'd scared them, and they were thinking about calling the cops. Classic move. When guilt stops working, switch to victim mode. Lexi was confident. Way too confident. She stood there telling me I should have just talked it out. Said this whole thing was a miscommunication. She talked like someone who thought she still had the upper hand. Like I'd eventually fold like I always did. She mentioned the store, her store. Got defensive the second I brought up the money. Claimed it wasn't her fault, that she never asked for anything, and that Mom and Dad just believed in her. The word jealous came up more than once. She acted like I was burning the house down because I couldn't stand seeing her win. She had no idea what was coming. I let her talk, let her build her little speech, let her throw out the same tired lines about being the favorite, being the achiever, being strong. She even tossed in a dig about how I had nothing going on and too much time to be bitter. I let out a breath after all her yapping and looked right at her. "You really believe that, huh? That this is jealousy?" She nodded. "Obviously. Why else would you suddenly be sabotaging everything?" I tilted my head. "All right then. I guess you'll love the next part." She narrowed her eyes. "What next part?" I shrugged. "Just something to prep for. You might want to start planning your clearance sale." "What are you talking about?" "You know how you're listed as the business operator of Lexessence, right?" I said. "Well, the startup funds came directly from that family fund, the one tied to me. And since I never gave permission, that makes it one of the assets under legal review in the fraud report. Her smile dropped. So, unless you've got magic paperwork showing I offered to bankroll your pastel Instagram palace, your little empire is going to be under the same microscope. She blinked fast. You're trying to get my business shut down. No, I'm just making sure everything stolen from me gets accounted for. If Lex Essence happens to be one of those things, well, guess you'll finally learn what actual consequences feel like. Lexi stepped back. You're bluffing. Think that if you want, I said. Your name's on the sign. Mine's in the paperwork. The only difference is I brought receipts. You brought attitude. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Her expression was stuck between disbelief and full-on panic. I turned back toward the house. I'd get ahead of it, Lex. You've got maybe a week before this becomes very real. She stood there like a frozen statue. Then, without another word, she spun on her heel, marched back to her car, and peeled out of my driveway like the world had betrayed her. No apology, no self-awareness, just ego bruised and reality creeping in. And then reality smacked them harder than I ever could. It started 3 days after Lexi stormed out of my driveway. I hadn't heard a word since. Not from her, not from my parents, not even from one of their flying monkeys trying to mediate. Just silence. It was the kind of quiet that tells you someone's scrambling behind the scenes, not fixing anything, just trying to hide the cracks. Then I got an email from my lawyer with the subject line, Progress Update, Formal Review Initiated. Apparently, the fraud report had moved fast, faster than I expected. The linked accounts tied to the so-called emergency fund had triggered red flags, and since my name was tied to one of the original contributions, specifically flagged as unauthorized, they were digging into everything. Not just the transfers, the store, too. That's when the dominoes started falling. Lex Essence was temporarily suspended, pending financial verification. The business account was frozen. Merchant processing disabled. Customers showed up to buy lavender bath bombs and intention candles and were met with a locked door and a taped-up notice from the bank about compliance issues. Lexi didn't even get a warning. It just hit like a bat to the knees. I didn't hear this from her, of course. I heard it from a cousin. The next hit landed at my parents' door. Remember the house I used to fund under the excuse of family emergency support? Well, turns out when your income-to-expense ratio makes no sense, and the transfers holding it together stop suddenly, mortgage companies get suspicious. The cease and desist letter had already raised flags. Now, a fraud review was sitting on top of it. They were audited, and not just financially. Their retirement savings, their medical expense deductions, everything tied to the account activity went under a microscope. And surprise, turns out when you're sloppy with lies, you leave paper trails. Their benefits got flagged. Their tax filings were pulled for secondary review. And to top it all off, the financial officer investigating the fund requested a full record of my contributions going back 5 years. The fallout wasn't just financial, it was social. People started asking questions. Family members who'd been fed that "poor us, Tiffany just turned on us" story started reaching out. Not to support me, but because things weren't adding up. My aunt, mom's sister, called me out of nowhere and said, "They said you stole from them, but now they're saying their benefits got cut off and Lexi's store is shut down. What's really going on?" I told her the truth straight up. No fluff, no emotion, just the events, the proof, the documentation. I didn't ask for sympathy. I didn't even want it. I just wanted the record set straight. A day later, she blocked my mom. I didn't cheer. I didn't post about it. I just went for a walk in the sun. Quiet, no calls, no guilt. The boutique page gone. Mom and Dad? Even worse. Their social circle shrunk fast. Invitations dried up. Support turned into silence. They weren't tragic victims anymore. They were cautionary tales. They weren't owed another conversation. I'd already given them years of silence, of payments, of being the daughter who understood while they built a life around pretending I didn't exist unless they needed something. Now they could exist without me, fully, totally, permanently. I changed my number, canceled the email address they'd always used, took everything related to them, and dumped it in a labeled folder on my desktop. Archived. Not my problem. It felt like deleting a virus, like rebooting after a years-long crash. Some people told me I was harsh. Others said, "But they're still your family." My answer was the same every time. Being related to someone doesn't give them the right to ruin you. They made their choices. I finally made mine. I didn't look back. Not once. For the first time in my life, the silence wasn't crushing. It was freedom. No late-night calls about emergencies. No texts begging for just one more loan. No guilt-tripping over how Lexi needed support because she was the baby of the family. The weight lifted was so sudden, so complete, that I almost didn't recognize myself. I woke up earlier, slept better, laughed more. I didn't have to rehearse excuses for saying no. I just lived. Meanwhile, the storm kept raging on their side. Lex Essence never reopened. Once the bank froze their merchant processing and the fraud investigation tied it all back to the so-called emergency fund, the doors stayed locked. Customers stopped showing up. Suppliers pulled back. The Instagram page went dark. Lexi tried a few last-ditch posts about technical issues and restructuring, but no one bought it. Within weeks, the account was deleted. As for my parents, their audit stretched for months. Benefits delayed. Tax filings flagged. Friends stopped answering their calls. Every time they tried to spin the story, the truth slipped out a little more. People compared notes. The narrative fell apart. And me? I didn't need revenge. Watching them unravel under the weight of their own lies was enough. One evening, months later, I walked past a different boutique downtown. A real one. The owner was outside sweeping the sidewalk, smiling, greeting customers by name. I realized then what Lexi never understood. Respect isn't bought with stolen money and fake titles. It's earned, little by little, with honesty and work. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I was done. Done playing the fool. Done carrying a family that never carried me. Done letting blood be the excuse for betrayal. Tiffany Carter, the reliable daughter, the family ATM, the backup plan, no longer existed. What remained was me. Just me. And for once, that was more than enough.